A lunatic just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
President Trump on that brutal killing in Charlotte, North Carolina, that is igniting outrage. Of course, that was just a short time ago from his remarks at the Religious Liberty event. The silence from the liberal media and Democrats is actually heartbreaking. Don't they care that their soft on crime policies are getting people killed? Now, I want to warn you as I narrate this, it's disturbing. We'll stop at the point right before the murder, but you'll know what's happening. Even the president described this. The shocking surveillance video shows a Ukrainian refugee brutally stabbed to death on a city train last month. There's no way she sees this coming. You see the people on the other side of the train are focused on their phones or looking away. He takes that moment and he kills her. It happened just before 10 p.m. on Friday, August 22nd. 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska got on that train, and minutes later, an alleged homeless ex-convict with more than a dozen arrests stabbed her, killed her. It happened so fast that other passengers really didn't notice until it was too late. And the suspect then walks to the other end of the car, blood dripping both from the knife in his hand and his bloody footprints, and kind of stands and he waits to see if he can get off that train. And then he starts walking around the other members of the people inside that locked car. He's near them. Lord only knows what he could have done. Finally, he got off at the next stop. Police identified 35-year-old DeCarlos Brown as that suspect. He has a lengthy criminal history, are we shocked, including 14 arrests on charges like armed robbery, assault, and making threats. The city's Democratic mayor is facing backlash for thanking media partners. We're supposed to act independently. Well, they're not journalists, whoever those partners are. And then she thanks community members who have, quote unquote, chosen not to repost or share the footage out of respect for Iryna's family. Cheryl, this is more than heartbreaking. It's disgusting. And we want more of that footage. We don't own it. But as you can tell, I've watched it all. It's about 8 minutes long. And what's in that video, we do need to see. We do need to know.
I've watched the full video as well. It is disturbing. And that suspect arrested 14 times, horrific. But there's more to this story that keeps happening. First off, the mayor saying that we need more police. You don't need more police. You need to keep a person in jail that was arrested 14 times. Why was this person free? Number one, that's a failure, I think, on the mayor herself. The other thing, too, is I found GoFundMes were actually created for the suspect to raise money for him. And then, get this, on a couple of the pages, they've been pulled down, thank God. One of the fundraisers. While what happened was a tragedy, we mustn't lose sight of the fact that DeCarlos Brown Jr. was failed categorically by the judicial system and the mental health services. He's not entirely to blame. Another said, let's fight against the racism and bias against our people in the fundraiser for this suspect. It just shows the worst of humanity, this whole story, and the disregard for her family.
Jeremy, that is so patently offensive. Our people? Our people? You mean fellow killers? I mean, are they invoking race into this whole thing? Yeah. He got up, took something out of his pocket, and killed somebody on camera. Probably didn't realize it was all caught on camera.
Yeah, I mean, it is so disturbing, the footage. And what's really disturbing to me is you have a leader of a major city, Charlotte, which I spent a lot of time in Charlotte. I have a lot of friends that live there with young kids. A lot of people living in fear now, wondering, can I get on the train safely? And her knee-jerk reaction is to say, well, thank you for just not spreading this video any farther. We don't want anybody else to see this. Whereas when you see all sorts of, usually when you have situations involving police, shooting someone unarmed, well, there's, release the video as far and wide as it can go, make sure we send this video out and everyone can see, and there's all this outrage. But here, we see this, especially on the legacy media's part, we don't really want to talk about this.
Why? Why do you think that is?
It doesn't fit their predetermined narrative. They have a predetermined narrative about what they want to say about the United States, and they don't want, watch this, Republicans to get a win out of this. So they think of politics. They don't want, President Trump cracking down on crime. They don't want anything to fuel what all of us know to be true about crime. And to me, it's sad that you have people, you could watch a video that gruesome, and your reaction is, oh, we don't want the Republicans to get a win. I mean, it's disturbing and very frustrating for all.
We've seen liberals, though, ask for more of it. Look at Daniel Penny. He was locked in a subway car with a man who was losing his mind and threatening people around, and he moved to protect the citizens around him. And everybody wanted more video of that. Well, did he do it for the right reasons, and so on and so forth? I want to get to this real quickly. Mainstream media, almost no coverage of this stabbing. Stories on the deadly North Carolina stabbing, zero from the Associated Press, PBS, New York Times, National Public Radio, Wall Street Journal, BBC, Washington Post, Reuters, MSNBC, only one from CNN, and it's from today. And the suppression on this, not just the video, Kennedy, drove the suppression on the story itself because it didn't go viral and not as many people knew that it had happened. And that's why we are this far beyond August 22nd and just now talking about this.
Yeah, and it's one of those videos that is so shocking. It's galvanizing to people because they want to feel safe in their cities. It's also tragic for this young woman who fled Ukraine for a better life, got to the United States, and, you know, probably felt like I'm safe. I'm somewhere where I feel I am protected and can thrive and flourish. And how many of those people who have seen the video but have withheld the stories and, you know, decided in editorial meetings not to broadcast
Great
it, you know, possibly for political reasons? To Jeremy's point, how many of those people have Ukrainian flags on their social media pages? And it's like, you know, why not celebrate this woman's life and also ask, how can this happen here? And, you know, the institutions that failed the Carlos Brown also failed this woman. You know, when you have progressives saying, well, we have to end incarceration. Well, this is what happens when you have violent recidivist people who get on the street and their behavior is completely unpredictable. I bet if you talk to some of those social workers and psychiatrists and, you know, some of those DAs who prosecuted him over the years, I bet they all had a very good idea that he would be impulsively violent. And it is a failure of the system, not for him, but for her, that she lost her life. And there was nothing that she could do in the moment because the strike was so violent and deadly. There was no way she could have saved her own life.
Well, and he's 34 years old. So all that past is not like under seal or anything. It's all gettable. And if people are doing their jobs, they're looking at all that reports, especially after that many arrests. I want to take a look at this. It's a local Charlotte reporter on city council cake break. Can we look at this? Local Charlotte reporter posts this. The Charlotte City Council took a cake break before they began discussing that fatal stabbing. What in the actual is happening right now?
I don't know whether to be more enraged at the city council, the Democratic politicians, or the media. But when I looked at those pictures that you had up there, the 13 pictures of DeCarlos Brown, I didn't just see 13 mugshots. I didn't just see 13 deranged killers, allegedly. I saw 13 opportunities to stop him that went unanswered. This guy went to prison. You see his images there. He went to prison for 5 years on another offense. He gets out. Within 1 year of being out, he assaults his sister. Within 1 year, 2024, he had 3 encounters with police officers. And then his mother, who was approached by a local reporter named Joe Bruno, she involuntarily committed him, kicked him out of her house. And here's a quote she gave this local reporter. Brown's mom says that the court should have never let her son be out in the community knowing he had a mental health issue and previous arrests. This beautiful woman in her pizzeria outfit at 9:45 p.m. on a Friday night on a train should still be here today. She is not. You failed, and you failed, New York Times, because I'm on your website now. Still no story.
Nothing. Yeah, she survived a war zone in Ukraine and couldn't survive a light train ride in America. Charlotte.
I'm tired also of the term mental illness being used as a cover for criminality. When a thug targets a woman, that is not insane. He knows she's weaker. When he comes from behind with a knife, that's not insane. He minimizes her ability to inflict harm on him. When the thug flees, that's sane because he knows if he stays, he'll be arrested. So what would be insane would be if he were to face off against a man without a weapon, somebody like a Tyrus. That would be insane. You'd go, okay, that's crazy. But almost all of these people that do this stuff, they go after women. That is not insane. That's self-preservation. This is not insanity. It's an evil mind. And it's an evil mind that is somehow excused in a culture that weaponizes victim status. In this case, mental illness. And what is it about a society that contributes to this? And I say this based on my own personal evidence of being on city streets every single day in New York, that when a homeless person is shouting at people, he's not shouting, "I really made a mess of my life. Boy, I really screwed up." No, his aggression is purely blaming other things and other people. He blames the world, he blames people, he blames you. So we're living in a progressive ideological nightmare where the worst in society is empowered by a sense of victimhood. So when this happens, they will still get people like Brian Stelter that says, "Oh, be careful of the racism," or other people saying, "You know what? We really need to be concerned about our services to the mentally ill," which may or may not be true, but he's not mentally ill. He needs to be executed. Lastly, I asked Grok for a conservative count of the number of times the George Floyd video was played, looking at tweets and social media, Instagram, news networks. It came to a conservative number of 975 million times. That is not counting retweets. So that is a snapshot of this liberal disease, the hierarchy of problems. The media and politicians, people like Stelter, implore you not to cover one problem, but to amplify another one to a destructive degree that leads to riots, leads to dozens of deaths. But do not cover this other thing because that is racist. And that is not as important. In the hierarchy of problems, we decide what you cover.
Now, why would that be? Why would one story demand 100 articles and another story 0 articles? And it's because the media is more interested in the all capitals story, the narrative, than the facts or the truth. Take a look at the difference here. I want to show you the actual truth when it comes to crime. The story is about race. Race. Take a look at the black on white crimes, 385,000 in 2023. The white on black crimes, just under 118,000. You see the comparative numerical difference. But now, here's what the media actually does. They did what our camera operator just began to do a moment ago. I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to show you literally what the media does with the camera. They zoom in on this number. This number, devoid of context.
It's time to have a brutally honest conversation about crime in America, and if you're easily offended, swipe up. This is not the video for you. Do you know that 1 in every 22 black men in America will commit murder in his lifetime? Do you know that black men, who make up about 6% of the population, commit 51% of the murders? That black men are 9 times more likely than the general population to commit a violent crime. This is all according to the FBI's published statistics. What the hell is happening here? There has to be some type of correlation or causation, socioeconomic, some type of rationale for this, and we think we've actually found it. We know exactly what's happening here. Do you know that 70% of black babies born today are born into fatherless households? There are 9 million black children under the age of 18 in America right now. 6 million of them don't have dads. They come from single-parent households. And what do we know about single-parent households? That you're twice as likely to live in poverty. That you're half as likely to graduate college. And, most importantly, you're 3 times more likely to wind up in prison if you come from a fatherless household. 70% of all juveniles held in state facilities are from fatherless homes. And so there is your correlation. Now, has it always been like this? No, in fact. Single-parent households, single motherhood, fatherlessness was quite rare 100 years ago in America. But something expedited this horrible trend and expedited the violent crime sprees that we are now seeing all across our nation. In the 1960s, the so-called Great Society legislation that created the permanent welfare state and created the incentive structure to keep fathers out of the home because they'll pay mothers more money for having kids without dads. That's the structure. There were even government minders that were sent into welfare-receiving homes to check to make sure there was no dad there. That's how bad it's gotten. And now we're seeing generations of that and the total and complete collapse of security in this nation because of it. Take the father out of the home, destroy the future of the child. And the government in part, incentivized it. We need to end programs like that. We need to encourage men to be fathers. We need to encourage family creation, and we need to encourage good dads. We need to lionize and venerate the father again in this country if we are to have any hope to fix it. Pray for better dads. Pray for a change in these policies. Fatherlessness is killing Americans.